Hello YouTube, Steamboat Willie here. Today I'm going to talk about something a bit different to my normal subject matter, because today I'm looking at one of my other interests, which is naval uniform. Now, in the Victorian age, the Navy was modernising rapidly. We were, seeing the replacement of sail with coal and steam. In 1856, the Royal Navy adopted a system of rank identification by cuff stripes that survives to this day. Starting with the captains. The captains had 4 half-inch stripes. 2 stripes were given to commanders, 1 stripe were given to lieutenants from 1856 to 1861. In 1861, lieutenants got 2 stripes, commanders got 3 stripes. In 1877, lieutenants over 8 years seniority were given an extra 1/4 inch stripe in between the 2 stripes. The title Lieutenant Commander was adopted in 1914 for those lieutenants, and the title Sub-Lieutenant came about in 1861. They got 1 stripe. Above captains, Commodores had 1 massive stripe that was 1 3/4 inch. Vice Admirals, Rear Admirals had 1 half-inch stripe above that. Vice Admirals had 2, Full Admirals had 3, and an Admiral of the Fleet had 4. There was a few changes about the thickness of the stripes, but that's basically the system as it went. Warrant officers until 1956 had a 1 thin 1/4 inch stripe. Military branch officers, what today we call warfare officers, had a curl in the top stripe. Until 1914, civil branch officers, the likes of engineers, pursers, surgeons, just had straight stripes. The civil branch officers were distinguished by coloured cloth in between the stripes. So engineers had purple, pursers had white, surgeons had red, electricians had green, dentists had orange. That system of coloured cloth persisted until 1956, the same year that all the existing warrant officers were commissioned. So the likes of bosuns and carpenters were all made up to full officers instead of warrant officers. Midshipmen retained their traditional rank insignia of a white turnback on the collar. So I'm not really going to talk about them much in this video. Between 1864 and 1951, the Royal Naval Reserve had a style of stripes consisting of 1/4 inch braid intertwined, which gave it the nickname the Wavy Navy. The Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve kept the same braid as the Royal Naval Reserve, but it was in a wavy pattern. Both of these distinctions were ended in 1951, when the Royal Naval Reserve simply kept the standard Royal Naval straight patterned stripes with an R in the curl. The R lasted until 2007, and now the Navy Reserve just keeps the same stripes as the Royal Navy. The Sea Cadet Corps, interestingly, still has the same braid style as the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve, so they're still using the wavy pattern. So the system of stripes was adopted by a number of other navies throughout the world, including the United States and Germany. Since the end of the British Empire, most of the Commonwealth countries have kept the same system. Now, the Royal Navy, during the First World War, the Royal Naval Air Service came along, and their officers wore Royal Navy uniforms with wings above the stripes to denote pilots and observers. In 1918, the Royal Air Force was formed. Came along with a sort of light blue uniform, and there was a bit of arguments whether they should adopt army uniforms or army rank systems or navy rank systems, and in the end they settled with a compromise. The other ranks would adopt army ranks, but the officers took on the ranks of the Royal Naval Air Service. So a flying officer had one stripe, equivalent to a sub-lieutenant. A flight lieutenant had 2 stripes. A wing commander had 3 stripes. A group captain had 4 stripes. Above that, the Admiralty didn't want airmen to be called admirals, so the equivalent ranks became Air Vice Marshal, Air Marshal, Air Chief Marshal. Air Commodore was Commodores were still Air Commodore, but above Commodore, your air ranks became Air Marshals rather than Admirals. Now, in 1918, another organisation adopted a similar uniform. That was the Merchant Navy. Now, various shipping companies had been pretty much copying what the Royal Navy had been doing prior to that. Obviously, we all know the Titanic and its officers. The uniform there, quite famously, was pretty much a copy of what the Royal Navy were already doing, complete with the curl for the deck officers. In 1918, the Merchant Navy was officially recognised and given an official standardised uniform, which followed the same pattern, with 4 stripes for a captain, 3 stripes for a first officer, 2 stripes for a second officer, and 1 stripe for a third officer, with a diamond in the middle. The coloured cloth, purple for engineers, white for pursers, and red for surgeons or doctors, is still used to this day, where it was actually abandoned by the Royal Navy, apart from the red for doctors in the 1950s. Now, in 1931, Pan Am Airways started a clipper flying boat service, and decided to adopt a sort of naval style uniform to better, to better promote their corporate image. So we now have airlines following naval practice, and again using the same rank titles as the Merchant Navy. Captain had 4 stripes, first officer had 3 stripes, second officers had 2 stripes. So most airlines now also follow the same pattern. There's differences in colours and styles of stripes, but generally they're following the same pattern as the Navy. So the Royal Navy has been influencing all these uniforms since 1856. There's been various changes to the uniform. We've got full dress uniform with tailcoats and epaulets. There's the monkey jacket. We've seen the Navy adopt khaki uniform for the Royal Naval Division and the Royal Naval Air Service in the First World War. They've got white uniform for tropical service, where the stripes are worn on shoulder straps instead of on the sleeve. But they all follow the same standard pattern of cuff stripes. The Royal Navy influencing military and civilian uniforms since 1856.